It's another Sunday. Hello and welcome to the Business Weekly Show on City TV. My name is Michael Ogudu. In this week's edition, we'll be bringing you a number of stories from what to expect with the implementation of the new taxes that government has introduced to some energy sector related stories among others. So it's really hot today. Anyways, are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the beautiful month of May. But hey, it looks like by the time we hit the second week, prices of goods and services as well as transport fares are likely to increase. Why am I saying this? Do you remember government's announcement of some new taxes and the Ghana Revenue Authority's commitment to start collection from this month? I guess you remember. Transport owners and people who are involved in the import and export of goods have vowed not to bear the cost, but rather shifted to consumers like you and I. Vincent Annan is a sales manager at an insurance firm, and just like him, many Ghanaians are still grappling with the economic impact of COVID-19, and anything that will increase expenses is not desirable.
It will worry me a lot. And I think everybody in this particular country will worry about it. Yeah, because whenever we are moving from one location to another, we move by vehicle. Even if you are not with your own vehicle, either you join Uber, taxi or trotro. And you know when these people are increasing the price of TNT, definitely they are not going to suffer for it. It is our pocket that we're going to suffer. So me, as a citizen, it concerns me a lot and is going to affect us in a negative way.
Just like him, his colleague Deborah Baini believes a likely increase in transport fares will significantly increase cost of living.
Definitely, it's going to affect every transport user, not just us alone, but everyone, because I believe in Ghana, basically, transportation fares form the basic of every other increase. Markets prices are going to go up because market women are also going to complain about transportation increase and all that. And you know, when prices are increasing like that, it doesn't move in conjunction with salaries and all that and our incomes and all that. So definitely it's going to affect us because I think it's not really been long since they increased prices. Okay, after COVID, there has been an increase in prices and all that. And the more it keeps shooting up, the more it becomes hard for we, the Ghanaian citizens.
Government proposed some new levies in the 2021 budget as part of efforts towards reviving the economy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Subsequent to the approval of these taxes by Parliament, the Ghana Revenue Authority indicated that it would commence implementation effective 1st May 2021. With one of the taxes, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy, the consumer will pay 20 pesos more per litre of petrol or diesel and 18 pesos more per kilogram of liquefied petroleum gas LPG. The Sanitation and Pollution Levy of 10 pesos per litre of petrol and diesel will also be paid by the consumer. Chairman of the Committed Drivers Association, Charles Danso, says the taxes will be passed on to passengers by increasing fares and indicated that any attempt by government to cap the increment will be strongly resisted.
We have laws in this country. In road traffic regulations, LI 2180, you know, when you read it, it talks about regulation 117. It talks about trading on rules. And you know, it is the human beings who make this filth on there, and they are not visible, they are visible. So if you can't apprehend them and then putting levy on our fuel for us to buy, then definitely when it happened to that cost, we also pass it to the final consumer, which is the passengers. So if government has mentioned that he will bring the levy and then increase the tolls, we are waiting for him to bring it, and after that we will also increase our fares. They shouldn't thought of telling us how much we should put it. We will decide how much we want to put on. So as I'm speaking, percentage is not money. It's a ratio of some figure, isn't it? So whenever they increase it, we also bring our fare.
Meanwhile, the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana says the public should expect a hike in the prices of goods and services from the 1st of May following government's introduction of new taxes. The Ghana Revenue Authority earlier indicated that it would commence implementation of the new taxes effective May 1 this year. According to the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asakia Wingobet, consumers should brace themselves to pay more for goods and services in the next couple of days.
I think it is important we come out to explain or we issue a statement out than to keep quiet as the whole country is being quiet at the moment. Then come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Ghanaians will walk to the market, something that you probably had bought it 1 Ghana cedi. You will get there come next week, then probably get to the market with a budget of 1 Ghana cedis. Then when you get there, then you'll be told that it is no longer 1 Ghana cedis, but probably maybe there's 20 pesos increment or there's a 50 pesos increment. I think as a responsible organization, in as much as we are defending and protecting the interest of the Ghanaian importers and exporters, sometimes when there are charges of this nature or if there are taxes of this nature, we always issue a statement. This is not a new thing that the Importers and Exporters Association is alerting. You remember when there was this 3% flat rate increment introduced in somewhere 2017, we came out to explain that they were going to have prices hike in the market. Truly, there was prices increment. And so, if you look at, even though we stated that 1%, but it's not only 1%, there's 5% where the government has introduced that all commercial banks, if you make your profit at the end of the year, before you'll be taxed, they will pay 5%. The government will take 5% out of their profit before even they will not apply the tax component to tax them again.
As for the month of May, from the look of things, cost of living is definitely going to rise. Still on taxes, though, the Ghana Revenue Authority says starting from July, you will only be able to pay your taxes through electronic means. GRA says the move is part of efforts to help improve upon its operations. We clearly are going digital with a number of services in the country, but it's pretty cool to know that with just a click of a button, you'll be able to pay your taxes from wherever you are without, of course, having to bother with traffic and the long queues. But we spoke to a tax analyst who believes that this will go a long way to widen the country's tax net. But some stakeholders, like the Ghana Union of Traders Association, have some concerns though.
A GRA circular to its staff stated that effective July 1, 2021, all payments for taxes and duties must be made directly to GRA bank accounts through digital means such as bank transfers, ACH, SWIFT, cards, Momo, and other electronic means. The Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Amisha Dai Owusu-Amoah, speaking at the 2021 Management Review in Kufuor-Dua, said this is in line with government's digitization plan and the authority's efforts to check tax evasion.
It is evident that the world we find ourselves in today is running very fast in terms of technology. And to remain relevant and effective, we have no choice but to be abreast the times. The theme portrays where we are going as an authority. This year, GRA will focus on the use of digital tools and also compliance to be able to get our expected results in revenue mobilization. We will pursue the digitization agenda fiercely. It is therefore incumbent for all staff to be ready for this drive.
Responding to the move, the tax analyst Francis Timor Boy said this will go a long way to widen the country's tax net while driving the authority towards administration efficiency.
If you look at the GRA's 2021 strategic plan, they seek to achieve two main objectives. One, to achieve administrative efficiency, and then the second one is to check tax evasion. In terms of the administrative efficiency, we all saw that the government policy of paperless at the port has really helped. It has facilitated the way goods move around and also enhanced revenue collection, because those days your goods could just be stacked at the port and government revenue was not coming frequently. So in this particular domestic tax revenue digitization, the GRA seeks to ensure that they also go by the national agenda on the
Meanwhile, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, has welcomed the move by the Ghana Revenue Authority. However, President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, while commending the GRA, also raised some security concerns.
It is not out of place. It is modernity. That's the new norm of the world. And as a matter of fact, we've started even trading in e-commerce and all that, which are all digitized. And so it is not out of place. It is welcome. The only question here is that the problem that goes with this digitization is what we have to look at, especially when we have scammers all around who would want to take advantage of the new system, bring some code and all that to just confuse us, especially when it is a new application that we are going to use. And for me, that's where we have to cooperate with the Ghana Revenue Authority, and then education should precede. It's very important. We have to know what we are going to do, what is involved. Is there going to be special coding system and all that? And that when we are well abreast and then we are assured of some comfort, then we start rolling it up.
Everything good also has its downside. Hopefully, the Ghana Revenue Authority will be able to put systems in place to address some of these concerns. Anyway, have you heard that the GRA has realized some 1 billion Ghana cedis since June 2020 in taxes in the petroleum downstream sector through the efforts of a technological company? Maybe that's why they are now pushing to digitize their operations. They have seen that the thing works, 1 billion Ghana cedis in less than 1 year, all because of the use of technology. If things continue this way, maybe some of the new taxes will be scrapped soon, especially that one on fuel. Let's find out how the GRA was able to achieve this feat.
Revenue leakages in Ghana occur through tax avoidance, tax evasion, and tax expenditures. Experts say these forms of revenue leakages have made it impossible for the country to mobilize enough resources locally to speed up development. The Ghana Revenue Authority, in partnership with Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, a company contracted by the GRA to help monitor and audit the petroleum downstream sector, has over the past 10 months realized about 1 billion Ghana cedis in taxes for the government. This is from June 2020 to March 2021. This, according to SML, was made possible through an end-to-end electronic metering management system that was developed to monitor every liter of fuel that is imported into the country, as well as those that leave the 16 operational petroleum depots in the country. The Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta, during the commissioning of the monitoring system, said it was going to help address the discrepancies in figures from the stakeholders in the sector, as well as eliminate losses to ensure government realizes the expected revenue.
So with this, all the pipes entering every depot are tagged. So you know exactly what is coming in. And all the pipes going out are also tagged. So you know exactly what the quantities are in. That then enables you to have numbers that are reconcilable, that everybody will accept. The differences of numbers that you are seeing between the MPA, GRA, and then the companies themselves. And so we eliminate that, and I think it was about 2 to 3 billion cedis of losses. So we are really excited about this change, where we can now determine exactly and get the revenues that we want.
It's been nearly 10 months after the commissioning. The monitoring system, according to the head of engineering of SML Ghana, Hamdan Abubakar, gives real-time account and data to the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Customs Division of the GRA. He said since the introduction of the monitoring system, the volumes of petroleum products recorded have increased by 150 million litres.
Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, upon deployment of the ultrasonic flow meters, have actually helped the Ghana government to actually increase the volumes of petroleum products which are being lifted from the depots to the market by almost 150 million litres. In revenue wise, we are talking about a little above 1 billion Ghana cedis. Okay, so nationwide we have 20 depots, but we have 16 depots where we've actually placed our flow meters and we have readings and records of their liftings. The system is very efficient. The system, as I earlier on stated, has actually helped the government to save a lot of money.
The managing director of the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, Christian Tetesoti, says the country can raise more revenue and exceed its target if such systems are adopted to track other sectors of the economy.
But over the period, you see that on monthly basis, either the volumes declared are just about the same, 350 million litres, plus or minus. Then we started testing in May, and it went to 400 and something. And we are getting figures of 450 million and above. This was at a time when the country was on lockdown. And yet, there was remarkable increase in the volumes declared. And that should be what should tell you that the monitoring has been effective. And we believe that going forward, since we will continue monitoring, we will maintain the same levels. And we believe that when the country is fully opened up to pre-COVID levels, we suspect that we may be hitting the 500 millions. In fact, this same system could be used to track even our mining sector.
Very impressive, don't you think? If technology is what will help us meet and exceed our revenue target, then it definitely is the way to go. Well, talking about revenues and all the new taxes that have been introduced, some economists believe that these new taxes will not yield any significant results if government does not put systems in place to check its expenditure.
The new taxes scheduled to take effect from May 1, 2021 are expected to yield a total of 2.9 billion Ghana cedis for the government annually. The new levies, according to the government, are to help in the economic recovery agenda after the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. But speaking at a Ghana Integrity Initiative event on the impact of the 2021 budget taxes on businesses amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, tax analyst Ali Nachia said there must be a fair balance between government expenditure and revenue mobilization to enable the state achieve sustainable development.
And what I like most about what they are going to do, the implementation of tighter expenditure control systems with a more efficient procurement system that will give us value for money. It is one of the issues of concern to me that invariably we seem to appear to always be chasing revenue. Little attention is being paid to expenditure. So it is good to hear that we are going to pay attention to expenditure patterns, especially the losses that occur from procurement.
The president of the Ghana Bankers Association, John Ewa, bemoaned what he calls excessive taxing of the banking sector.
And what this new levy has done, which is a point we have made time and time again, is to reduce our capacity to build up the needed buffers that will cushion banks and prevent another financial sector meltdown, as we had and it was alluded to by one of the speakers. We had a situation where our regulator, Bank of Ghana, has asked banks, even banks that have done very well, have met their capital levels and other ratios, in order to create the needed capital buffers almost placing a ban or an embargo on dividend payment.
The Association of Ghana Industries AGI advised government to tax cautiously in order not to overburden businesses.
It is businesses who generate the taxes for you to harvest. But if some of the policies are not business friendly, we may end up killing industries. And you wouldn't want to kill the hen that lays the golden egg.
Our efforts towards revenue mobilization will be meaningless without a commensurate attempt at regulating our expenditure. That sounded very Kwame Nkrumah-ish, not so? Now, we move to intermittent power outages, and please, government says this one isn't doing so. But for the minority in parliament, the value is the same. They say the government is to blame for the unstable power supply in the country. Of course, the Ministry of Energy does not agree one bit.
The minority in Parliament on Wednesday said government's mismanagement, financial challenges in the energy sector, and the executive interference are behind the unstable power supply in the country.
It is a well-known fact, especially among energy sector industry players, that the current outages in the country is due to financial challenges and not the unconvincing reasons that we have been receiving from them. This is because the transmission lines and transformers are congested, and they are congested due to underinvestment and lack of regular maintenance arising from the poor financial health of the energy sector SOEs. Indeed, it will be recalled, and those of you who are interested, we've provided you with a link. Once you click that, it will take you there. It will be recalled that the current CEO of Gridco cautioned that the country was likely to experience major power supply outages. This was in March 2018. And this was after President Akufo-Addo took a populist but uninformed decision to usurp the authority of the PURC by slashing the revenue flows of Gridco and other utility agencies. Unfortunately, the caution from the Gridco chief executive fell on deaf ears. And about 2 or 3 years down the lane, we are indeed witnessing what the Gridco chief executive predicted.
But according to the Energy Ministry, the only reason these outages are being carried out is to allow for the contractors to tie in their works into the existing transmission lines, adding that the minority's claims that political pressure has been brought to bear on the publishing of a load-shedding timetable is false. In a City Business News interview, Head of Communication at the Energy Ministry, Rodney Nkrumah-Boateng, assured the general public that despite the inherent challenges in the transmission and distribution aspects of the power sector, systematic plans have been put in place by the government and its developmental partners to create sustainable power supply for the country.
There is no nationwide, power cuts. We all know that. Even in Accra, I live in Kwabenya. I haven't experienced power cuts in a while. My sister lives in Teshnungwa. She doesn't talk about power cuts. When the release came out, it was specific to parts of northeastern Accra. That was what the timetable was about. Because of the Pokwasi substation that is being built, when it is completed, we need to do a tie-in. And they need to break into the system to be able to do that, because otherwise it would be too dangerous to lives. And so they'll have to break into it for a 1 week period. And that has been spelled out, who goes on when and comes on when. I think what is most important that Ghanaians are looking for is that when will this end? What is going on? What are the timelines? What is the problem? These are the key things that are important to Ghanaians. And that is where our focus is and was when we put out the statement. So we're not going to get into all that back and forth. That can be done at a separate time. We can have arguments all day long about who did this investment and whose legacy is this and all that stuff. But we need to keep an eye on the ball. And that ball is, how are people going to get relief from the inconvenience? How are small businesses going to function in the light of the current challenges? What are we doing? What are the timelines? When do we expect to have them achieved? And when do we Ghanaians should? So there's no point. As I said, we can have long arguments, but this is not the time for that sort of thing. There's been a campaign, it's been done, it's all gone. Now is to get down and do the hard work and make sure that Ghanaians get the relief that they deserve.
City TV is live. On DSTV, go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and Star Times box. City TV, it's your world.
Whether it is the government's fault or not, as for us, all we need is regular power supply. Case closed. But wonders will never end. While we are thinking about how to sail through the next couple of days with unstable power, workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, went on a brief strike earlier this week in protest of their managing director. The action, which was expected to be nationwide, left many customers stranded in the process. ASMO.
After a meeting on Friday, 9th April 2021, by the National Executive Committee, the Junior and Senior Staff Union of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, demanded the immediate removal of the Managing Director, Kwame Ajimambudu. According to the workers, the MD's mismanagement has led to the unavailability of critical materials such as meters, service cables, conductors, prepaid vending accessories, and maintenance materials, which has caused delays in connecting and supplying customers who have paid for such services. The union also alleged that the managing director continues to award new non-critical contracts without regard to the company's poor finances and ability to complete critical projects. The union said that recognizing the company's challenging financial situation since June 2020, it petitioned the managing director several times to involve its rank and file in revenue mobilization, but the request was turned down by the managing director at every opportunity until 1st April 2021. The group embarked on a 2-hour sit-down strike on Monday at its various offices, including the Accra East branch and the head office. During a visit to these two areas, red bands had been hoisted at the entrance of the buildings with the inscription, "ECG MD must go," with staff at the Accra East branch clad in red armbands and chanting. The gate was locked by the security personnel at post. An affected customer spoke to City News.
I'm here to check on my lights that I bought and they are taking it off. So I'm coming to check on them. Get to this place, I got to find out that they say they are doing demonstration, which it will not help with the customers. Because we have paid money to them and we need to enjoy what we have paid. And now we are not enjoying. Is it fair? Is it fair? At the time you are talking about your brother, are you the same person? Are you doing your work well as you are complaining about him? So we should check our things before we complain about others. I'm going to Nsawok to do my rounds over there. And because of that, I have to come here and check on my lights before I leave. And getting to here, what I could see that there's a demonstration. So how will I leave this one and then go on my rounds? I cannot go. I need to wait to check on it before I go. And then me to have missed something.
That notwithstanding, services were being rendered by the Kolebu District Office of the ECG to customers, although the red band could be seen at the gate. Some of the customers shared their experience with City News.
I had to join a long queue, and that has been the normal process anytime I come here to buy my prepaid. So today, I think when I came, it was moving smoothly. Yeah. Well, I didn't even notice there was a demonstration going on, but when I went in, the work is going on smoothly.
Sanya line it does nintino so me koye adwumanti mpese me kona the next day no na maba because of line no omo see we ni slow ntino ntina meta ba mo ba na enye sa by na me ba na line no nipa does so ntina mpese me kona the next day no na maba.
Thank God the strike was for just 2 hours. If not, you can imagine the level of inconvenience it would have caused. We shift our attention now to the housing sector. I'm sure this week you've heard a lot about the Saglame housing project. The $200 million project was initially for 5,000 housing units and was started under the Mahama government. Though the first phase of the project has 1,500 housing units and was commissioned in 2016, it has since been left unused. Some industry players have been commenting on this development.
Ghana faces a housing deficit in excess of 2 million units, and completion of abandoned housing projects will help to bridge the gap. The government plans to bridge the deficit by delivering a minimum of 85,000 housing units annually for the next 20 years. $51 million had been set aside to finance abandoned housing projects in the country, according to the government in 2019. During the State of the Nation address in 2019, President Akufo-Addo stated that his administration will complete the Wa, Tamale and Koforidua housing projects started by the Kufuor administration in 2006 with the stated amount of money. The president also added that the $180 million Saglame housing project, which started under the National Democratic Congress government, was high on their priority list. But the country is set to see any progress on the abandoned housing projects after several promises by successive governments. Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Samuel Amegaibo, believes that unless this trend is curbed, the country's housing deficit will never be solved.
The issue of continuity is one of the things that we are lacking. If you remember, our former president, His Excellency, started affordable houses to deliver 5,000 houses. Are you aware that those projects are still not completed? So if it is taking us over 20 years to just build 5,000 houses, it tells you that there's something a big problem with our continuation of projects. If another government comes in and he doesn't feel that he wants to continue what has been done. So that is what I was drawing the minister's attention. If we have continuity, we'll be able to do something very significant to our deficit. If the Kufuor's project, for example, were finished in his term, or even if it was not finished and the government that followed had done it, at least would have taken us maybe 8 years or 12 years and would have done 5,000. And if we had started another 5,000 or doubled the 5,000 to 20,000, you'll see that by now we would have significantly made some significant change. But we didn't do that. So 5,000 houses 20 years ago is still ongoing. So when are we going to finish? Then we had Saglame on board. Saglame has also been abandoned in the bush. Whether they were supposed to do 5,000 and now they're doing under 5,000. The project is what? Standing there. You see. So these are some of the things that we are talking about. We should have a structure that deals with continuity.
Meanwhile, the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, has blamed the current state of the Saglame housing project on the lack of a national housing policy in the country. The $200 million project was initially for 5,000 housing units and was started under the Mahama government. Though the first phase of the project has 1,500 housing units and was commissioned in 2016, it has been left unused. Amidst this development, the country is currently embattled with an over 2 million housing deficit. In an interview with City Business News, Executive Director of ASEPA, Mensa Thompson, stressed that such occurrences and the country's housing deficit can only be addressed with a national housing policy that is binding on whichever government is in office.
In terms of developing a country, nothing can be achieved. Nothing significant can be achieved in 4 years or 8 years. Nobody can transform a country in 4 years or 8 years. The governance is a continuum. And so what you do is that you build on what your predecessors have provided or have left off. And that is why when you come to government, you inherit both assets and liabilities. You do your own appraisal, you find out what you need to do to enhance your assets and how you have to work with your liabilities. And so you cannot change the face of this country in 4 years. What we have failed as a country to do is to have a national strategic plan. A plan that focuses on access to housing, a plan that focuses on decent healthcare, a national strategic plan on education, and what have you. And so you see that investment in education, investment in healthcare, investment in housing have all been disjointed, with every party coming to power and doing their best. And you don't see the synergy. You don't see where all these individual contributions of these various governments meet. And so it's just a symptom of one of the huge gaps we have in our governance system, which is the lack of national strategic plan on housing, on education, on healthcare, on infrastructure, and etc.
I agree. We clearly need a national housing policy to direct all government's efforts at addressing the challenges in the sector. Let's now talk about charcoal. If you use it on a regular basis, you might be witnessing some scarcity in the next couple of days. The Savannah Regional Minister has imposed a ban on the logging of trees and the production of charcoal in the region because he believes this will protect the environment. I'm sure you're probably wondering now what options are available to you. But for charcoal sellers in Accra, their worry is even bigger: how they will survive with this ban in place. I interacted with some of them, and this is what they had to say. For a mother of 6, Ladi Isifu's only source of livelihood is the charcoal she sells.
Almost stop at the end. You Juma Beayaka and we are not the share. And I say, we did. Now you share my minimum. Until Cosco, you knew Juma Beayaka begin. They stop it, I begin Juma. Almost stop a beef baby back. And so how they need to say baby almost stop on.
She is distraught because of the anticipated impact the ban on charcoal production in the Savannah region will have on her business and family. Just as Ladi, her colleague charcoal seller Sekina Kennedy believes no more charcoal to sell could spell doom for her, as she has no other skill. Charcoal selling for them is a heritage.
Nti omo jaya ombe pe juma bi amayana ombe ne den yeso ye nana mo juma ana omo aya ebeduru yeso ayeso ye enti omo be jaya omo be ma omo ajaya ejuma be na ombe pa amaye ombe pe ejuma amayana.
Though these charcoal sellers may claim to have a legitimate cause for concern, the Savannah Regional Minister Said Muhazu Jibril believes trees in the region that are part of the Savannah Ecological Zone are threatened by logging and commercial production of charcoal. The minister, as part of his commitment to stop such activities, inaugurated a task force to enforce the ban. But for end users like Letitia Esuman, a food vendor, the ban poses a severe threat to her complementary source of fuel.
I say me use gas kakra, me use bidie kakra. Inti me can say me use gas nkwa. Every 3 months and I say 2 months be I say me to gas. I say me use bidie nu chain gas. So ehun. Inti ya ebe ha madwen.
However, environmental analyst Desmond Appiah, who agrees with the ban, stressed the health implications of charcoal production.
I recently even undertook a trip up north, and it was quite disheartening to see the rate of the deforestation. And so it is a good step, but it, however, calls for more broader way of dealing with the challenge of deforestation and also the impacts that we feel. And if people are using the charcoal as a source of fuel wood or as a source of cooking, we should provide the alternative. That is how you ensure sustainability of the policy. But if it is just a ban and we see a very short-term impact of it and it is not sustainable, I think that we really wouldn't have done ourselves any good.
Responding to the likely impact on the livelihoods of persons engaged in the charcoal trade, he further stated that there are options worth considering.
That is an argument that we shouldn't, if there are alternatives, everything that we do that has negative impact, somebody will make an argument that it threatens their livelihood. What are the alternatives? We should look at those alternatives. Are they available? Are they affordable? Can people switch from one form of livelihood style to another? These are the questions we should be asking. And then that would make or reduce the negative impact on livelihood. What is preventing someone who is selling charcoal from now selling clean cook stoves or selling clean fuels that the neighbors can also use to cook? So there are alternatives. It is not like because they deal in charcoal, that's the end of it.
Clearly, addressing the country's environmental issues will require a concerted effort from both us and government. We head up to the northern part of the country where some mango farmers have given managers of Ghana Exim Bank 2 weeks to pay monies due them for the maintenance of their farms as contained in an agreement they signed in 2014 and 2015. The farmers say the bank's failure has caused some of them to lose their farms, whereas suppliers are chasing others for their monies. But what do all these mean for the production of the mangoes that most of us really love?
Mango as a fruit has enormous potential that can contribute significantly to Ghana's agricultural sector. The country's coastal, northern Ashanti, transitional zones of Ashanti and Brong-Ahafo regions, northern Volta and the entire 5 regions of the north are very suitable for mango production, meeting international quality specifications. These areas, with their abundant moisture and hot temperatures, are suitable for large-scale production of the fruit. However, it appears the country is not paying much attention to the fruit's huge potential for economic growth. In 2014 and 2015, through an EDI-facilitated agreement, hundreds of farmers applied and signed onto the establishment of thousands of acres of mango farms nationwide. Exim Bank became the financiers of the project under agreed terms and conditions acceptable to all parties concerned. Exim Bank was to reimburse farmers yearly of specified and agreed self-finance expenses and expenditure on their farms through lay-down processes. It was this incentive that motivated farmers to sign onto the program. Unfortunately, farmers in the 5 regions of the North say for the past 4 years, Exim Bank has withheld its obligation to majority of the farmers without any engagement or communication. They say the bank only last year made a 50% payment and deferred the balance to December 2020, but has since failed to pay the rest. They alleged Exim Bank has shut them out of their reach, leaving their farms to perish. The situation, the farmers say, has led to the drying up of some mango plants, whereas input suppliers are chasing them for monies they owe.
But this is the situation that we have found ourselves. We are really in a dire need of support for people to come in and find out from the bank why we are treated this way. We haven't been treated fairly at all. Some of our mango, some of the mango seedlings or mango plants that we have in place and have been working seriously are dying. Every day you have to go and source funding from other places, come and input supplies, chemicals and pesticides. We have all been trying as much as possible to get them. Currently, as we speak, some of our members have been arrested by the police. Some of the executives have to go in and bail them. We don't even know when to pay those debts to the suppliers.
They are appealing to government to intervene and ensure the bank pays them all outstanding monies within 2 weeks.
Facilities, nothing. We are just suffering like this. So we are appealing to the government. We are giving them 2 weeks ultimatum to pay the money. If the money is not paid within the period of 2 weeks, we are going to ensure that the entire nation will hear of it.
They also want authorities to investigate the activities of the bank under the project.
And the general public should remember that this is a credit facility that we are coming to pay back. And if you do this and the farms die off, then you come and stand on me that I should pay. You should rather be held responsible for causing financial loss to the state. And so please, this is the message we have for people in authority. The president, the Speaker of Parliament, Chief Justice, Minister of Agri, they should check on Exim office. The auditors who are responsible for checking Exim Bank, please sit up and check them, and you should come and use us, we the beneficiaries, to evaluate them.
Meanwhile, City News sources at Exim Bank explained that the farmers will pay the first tranche of the loans before the tenure of the previous board expired, resulting in the late payment of the remaining tranches, a situation adequately communicated to the national leadership of the Mango Farmers Association.
The government hopes to build a factory in every district across the country. But for big multinational factories, they've been struggling to survive because of the challenge of access to constant electricity, how expensive it is to borrow, and now COVID-19 with its wahala. But they are hopeful that with government help, they should be just fine. Let's hear them out.
As Ghana looks to develop through industrialization by creating at least one factory in each of her 260 districts, researchers say that the industry sector has been struggling to meet its full potential. The World Bank recently revealed that Ghana's manufacturing sector declined by 14% in the second quarter of 2020 as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, contributing to the overall contraction of industry by 3.1%. Unilever Ghana, a multinational company that recorded a loss of almost 13 million Ghana cedis in the third quarter of 2020, spoke about plans to bounce back.
First is coming back very strong on equity building, connecting with the consumer, understanding the consumer, getting in this market the products that the consumer wants, and building the equity around those brands so that the consumer knows that we are the place of the first choice for their needs. That is one. Two, is about making sure that we are running the company well. So we are running the company based on our business fundamentals. We are taking good care of our cash. We are taking out waste so that we are not burdening the consumer with the cost of waste, and we are also not burdening our bottom line with the cost of waste. I think three is big connection with our distributors, making sure that we are helping them through our conduct to sweat their working capital, so their working capital and their investments, so that they make money and continue to take our products to the tabletops, the kiosks, and the neighborhoods.
Beyond profitability challenges, Unilever, a company that employs over 900 Ghanaians and also sources over 70% of its raw materials from Ghana, has had its share price decrease by over 50% since the beginning of this year.
I think on our liabilities and assets, we are at a place where we are a going concern. Okay, because when you look at our liabilities and where our liabilities sit, our liabilities are largely related party, and our related party is a shareholder of this business and believes that its shares and its investments here would come good. And so we are not under pressure at all in the area of liabilities. And what we are focused on is making sure that we are improving our profitability, we are improving our management of cash, and if we do that, we should be fine.
Speaking at the Ghana's competitive potential in the after-launch and dialogue organized by Confidence, the managing director of Sleek Garments, Nora Bannerman Abbott, advocated for governmental agencies to assist businesses in the manufacturing sector to reach their full potential.
The support must be direct, it must be relevant, and it must be immediate and swift. And there has to be that private sector, public sector partnership. We need it to be happening it should have been happening like yesterday.
As the Ghanaian government actively encourages more businesses to participate in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, some are worried that other countries with cheaper cost of credit, constant access to electricity, and superior productive capacity will outperform Ghana. But the managing director of Unilever Ghana, George Owusu-Ansah, is hopeful that with the necessary collaborations, Ghanaian manufacturing businesses will succeed.
Utilities, reliability and cost, capability and education of the Ghanaian become very, very important to enable us compete. And also the laws around taxes, import duties, etc. And I think continually these are the areas that as industry players we have to engage with government and make sure between us and government, because we are all joined in one effort.
The president of the Private Enterprises Federation, Nana Osei-Bonsu, speaking at the same launch by Confidence, encouraged government to equip players in the manufacturing sector with the resources to produce goods the Ghanaian public demand to grow the industry sector.
We have to have competitive and comparative and do the selective areas where we can do business. From the farm gate to the market house. There was a certain research recently about how Ghanaians were patronizing imports, more imports than exports. But if we want, government can influence what we produce here. Order about 5 or 10 companies to produce sardines, 10 companies to produce this and that. It takes government's leadership. We have the CSIR in our midst, 13 institutes within the country that can assist in that direction.
Still on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, banks are not yet out of the woods. A recent report from the Bank of Ghana has showed that they aren't doing too well based on assessment of their performances for the first 2 months of the year. A lot of the banks are opting for safer options like investing in government treasuries rather than give out loans. This is reducing the profits they are earning. But can you blame them? With the pandemic, you can never be too sure. Here are highlights of the reports by the Bank of Ghana, with some analysts sharing what they make of it.
According to the Banking Sector Development Report for March released by the Bank of Ghana, the 23 banks in the country reported a modest profit performance for the first 2 months of 2021 compared to the same period last year, attributed to declines in growth in revenue lines and higher loan provisions. Growth in profit after tax slowed to 5.9% in January and February 2021 from 38.8% during the same period in 2020. The growth in income of banks as a result of interest paid on loans advanced declined to 9.5% in February 2021 from 22% in February 2020 due to the relatively low growth in credits. Growth in net fees and commissions of banks in the country increased by 13.7%, lower than the 18.4% recorded in the previous year. Slower growth in credits, trade financing and other off-balance sheet transactions contributed to the decline in growth of fees and commissions during the period under review. Similarly, net interest income growth declined from 25.9% in February 2020 to 10.9% in February 2021, notwithstanding the dip in growth in interest expenses from the contraction in borrowings. The composition of banks' income in February 2021 reflected the structure of the balance sheet. In line with the increase in banks' investment holdings, interest income from investments remained the largest source of banks' income, with its share increasing to 51.1% in February 2021 from 42.5% in the previous year. Interest income from loans was the second largest source of banks' income, but its share declined to 31.1% from 38.7%, reflecting the slowdown in credit growth. The share of fees and commissions, however, increased marginally to 12.3% from 11.7% over the same comparative period, while the share of other income sources declined to 5.5% from 7.2%. From an overall slowdown in the growth rate of profits of banks in January and February, a closer look at the Banking Sector Development Report for March released by the Bank of Ghana shows that commercial banks in the country continue to take the less risky route by using their monies on safe government securities like treasury bills and bonds at the expense of more loans to businesses. So how did the various asset classes of banks in Ghana perform in the first 2 months of 2020? Total banking sector assets as at the end of February 2021 increased by 18.5% year-on-year to 152 billion Ghana cedis, marginally higher than the annual growth of 17.8% as at end February 2020. Growth in banks' investment holdings outpaced other asset classes due to the higher propensity of banks to invest more in less risky government instruments as a result of the pandemic-induced elevated credit risk and slowdown in credit demand. Investments shot up by 45.9% to 67.9 billion Ghana cedis compared to the growth of 7.2% in the prior year. Gross loans and advances to the private and public sectors, on the other hand, continue to experience a subdued growth at 3.6% in January and February, a sharp decline from the 26% growth in the corresponding period last year. This, according to the Banking Sector Development Report for March released by the Bank of Ghana, is attributable to weak credit demand, higher repayments, and banks' increasing appetite for less risky assets. New loans and advances for the first 2 months of 2021 of 4.7 billion Ghana cedis also reflected a sluggish credit market condition with a 24.6% decline from the pre-pandemic level of 6.2 billion Ghana cedis for the first 2 months of 2020. A closer look at the assets and liabilities of banks for the review period show that the structure of banks' balance sheets remained broadly unchanged during the review period. However, there were some noticeable differences in the relative shares of the key key components, a reflection of the pandemic-induced development within the sector during the past year. Investments continue to dominate the assets mix as its share increased significantly from 36.3% in February 2020 to 44.7% in February 2021, reflecting banks' increasing appetite for less risky assets. The share of net loans and advances, however, declined to 27.2% from 31.5% in the previous year on account of the slowdown in credit growth. So when will we see banks investing less in government securities and more in the business ventures of Ghanaians? According to banking consultant Nanotui Chiampong, a likely change in the current investment strategy of financial institutions in the country, especially banks, is conditioned on the elimination of COVID-19 in the country.
Now, for the ordinary person, when you use the term investment, it confuses them. Now, what basically is happening is when a bank has got 100 cedis to lend, they've got one of two broad avenues. Either they lend to the private sector or they lend to government. Now, what we have seen is because of COVID, people are not borrowing because businesses are not going on as they expect. So what the banks are now doing is instead of lending the money to the private sector, they are lending the money to government. So those investments are treasury bills that banks have now shifted into. And as you can see, it went up by something like 45%. So this is not, it's investment into the Bank of Ghana calls it less risky investment, i.e. government bonds or government securities. And that is what is happening there. So this is the issue that one has to look at. I mean, we lend to the private sector, getting higher interest rate, but accompanied by higher risk, with the risk of having a higher NPL, or lend to government as a lower interest rate, a lower risk, and almost nil NPL. Because in the era of Baroda banking, their NPL was zero, because when you lend to government, there's no risk in your lending, is what I mean. So this is the debates that is going on, that should banks lend more to government than to the private sector or vice versa. But because of the risk return complexion, the choices have to be made. And in this COVID era, unfortunately, shareholders are looking for returns irrespective, because some shareholders also live on the dividends that they will get from these banks.
It's literally 4 o'clock already. All too soon, we've come to the end of this week's edition of the Business Weekly Show. Do drop us a comment on the live Facebook feed and tell us what you think about the show. Follow me on Twitter. My handle is mobodu. Catch you same time next week. Thank you for watching. My name is Michael Obodu. Stay safe, stay informed, and bye-bye.